So perhaps you know how to send marketing emails to like a mailing list, but how do you include email inside of an application? That's what we're going to look at today by connecting Replit and Resend, so that when someone fills out your contact form or your waitlist form or anything else on your site, you can send them or yourself an email alerting them that you got their message. You ready? Let's go. All right, so here's the basic application I have. Somebody adds their name, their email, and a message, and then it sends them an email, ideally, but right now it doesn't do anything. So let's first of all just ask Replit that when somebody fills out this form, we want to send them an email with Resend. So I'll hit enter, and it will go ahead and process this and add Resend to the application. Okay, so over here, you can see I now have the option to connect Resend, so I'll go ahead and continue with that integration, and it's gonna ask me for an API key and then where I wanna send the email from. So let's go ahead and grab an API key next from Resend. All right, so here I've got my free Resend account. I've just gone to API keys and I can now create a new API key. Let's name this something like Replit. You can do whatever you want here and I'll click add. Now this is a secure key that gives access to your account. So you want to copy it, use it in Replit, but don't show anyone else, okay? So I'm gonna click copy and then we'll jump back over to Replit and just add the API key here. Right now, just follow along with this. We'll talk about custom domains in a second, but right now let's just use something like onboarding at resend.dev. So this particular one will allow us to send even though we haven't authorized a custom domain. If that doesn't make sense, I'll show you in a second. But for now, we're just going to configure this and let Replit do its magic and connect this all up to the form. Okay, so we now should have this working. Let's come over here. I'm going to add like Chris. We'll do Chris at resend.com and then something here. Okay, so let's go ahead and send this, and this should send it out using my own custom Resend account. If I check my email inbox, I should see it, but I can also just check the emails table here. You'll see it says, we've received your message, and it says, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Now, all of this you get by default in Resend. You can track all the metrics of everything you're sending through your application, see any errors that happen here as well, and fix those on your side. We also get plain text, you get the HTML, and we've even got some insights here to make sure that you're following all the best practices with email sending. Now, obviously, we've sent this from onboarding at resend.dev, which I want to use my own custom domain. And Resend allows you to connect a custom domain and give it authorization to send on your behalf. So the next thing we're going to do is add a custom domain. All right, so I'm in Resend. That's where we're going to start. I'm going to click add domain, and I can use any domain that I own. Now I happen to own seattlemapcompany.com, and you'll see that here we recommend you kind of section off different types of sending. So here we probably have contact.seattlemapcompany.com, and I'll click add domain, and this should add all the records I need to authorize a resend. So you see here it's saying I have to add some DNS records. Now I will warn you, it's a little complicated here, but you only need to do this one time and I'll walk you through it. So you'll see I'm using Cloudflare, so I get a one-click sign in, which I'll show you in a second, but you can also manually do this, which might be the case for your particular provider. We have docs for you, we add them here. Otherwise, you can follow more generic docs and add these one at a time. Basically, wherever you bought your domain, you're going to add specific records that tell email inboxes Resend is allowed to send on my behalf. So what you would do is copy this right here, add it as an MX record, add the content here, and kind of go one at a time. We even have this nice checkbox system so that you don't get lost in the process. Now, I'm using Cloudflare, which means I can just click sign into Cloudflare, and it does all this work for me. Now, you would just be doing the same thing manually, but you see here in Cloudflare, I just have to click authorize, and it adds all this for me. So now everything will be checked. Resend will go through that process, and when it's verified, it'll let me know. All right, so it's already finished. If I jump over here, you'll see I started this 3 minutes ago, and then it was verified. Resend just checks those records, and once they're verified, it lets you know that you can send now from, in this case, contact.seattlemapcompany.com. So now what we need to do is add this in Replit. So back in Replit over here, I need to now change my sending from email address. And this is where those integrations come in. So at the very top here, you'll see that I can check different integrations under my account. And you'll see that I've got this one connected, Resend. So I'm going to come in here and manage this. It's just being used in one project right now. So I can change the from address right here. So let's say something like hi at contact.seattlemapcompany.com. Now it needs to be whatever domain you verified. In this case, it was the contact.seattlemapcompany. Whatever you do, that's what you would have here. Now you do also need to re-add your API key as well, which I've done, and then I'll just click update. So this should connect everything, and now I can jump back to my application. You get to that by hovering over apps, and you can just select whatever one you were building most recently. In this case, I was using this one. So let's close this down and now try this all over again. And then let's go ahead and send this off. All right, so now it should be using my own custom domain that I set up in Resend. Let's check it in Resend, and then let's also check it in my email inbox. This time it sent the same thing, but notice it's now coming from hi at contact Seattle Port Company or maccompany.com. Let's also check the email inbox then. Over here, yep, there we go. It's from the same thing I would expect. However, notice if I go to reply to it, it's going to try to reply to that same location. Now, like me, you may not have an email inbox there. So So what you could do is instead add a reply to email address. What this means is when somebody goes to reply, it'll actually send back to whatever custom email address you provide. So back over in Replit, I'm just going to say something like add a reply to email address at chris@resend.com. So whatever one I want them to reply to, that's what I'm going to ask Replit to do. Okay, so Replit says it's finished it right over here. It says it's added this chris@resend.com as the reply to address. So let's test it out by sending another email. Now we should be able to check those two places again. So let's first of all check with Resend. I'll refresh over here and here we go. We got one less than a minute ago. And then let's check my email inbox. And if I click reply, it should now reply to chris@resend.com. So that's how to connect Resend and Replit together. We added an API key, our own custom domain, even changed the reply to email address, and all this is right within our application within Replit. This new integration makes it really easy to send emails from your application. Now, there are a lot of little hiccups you can run into, and if you run into trouble, please reach out to us. We're here to help. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Happy sending.